Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is the Indoor Farmer with Waylon and Jeremy. This is the show where stupid questions come to die. This week, we have a little bit of a change up in the show. We're gonna just do a little bit of a history and not much, just a few little snippets of what I did when I first started, just to kind of catch Jeremy up on my background and what a little bit of experience I do have, little triumphs I've gone through. So and then I'm gonna throw it to him, and we'll see what kind of history he has with food and growing your own. Let's see. Let me switch it. Here we go. Let's start the video. It's a shorter episode. We're gonna try and keep it a little bit short and sweet. So Jeremy, you've had one episode. Do you feel like it was? Hold on, we'll pause this and do a little bit of cleaning house. We'll put it. So you feel like it went well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it.
I think we had a good back and forth. A lot of things to work on, of course. But this is going to be just a little catch up, and then I guess maybe from there we'll get some pictures of what you got going on, and if you guys decide to grow food this year, hopefully we'll get some more into that.
Every year. So
this is the old system that it's the same trough. It's only just one of the two wooden troughs that I had. And so I expanded on this, obviously, as you're going to see later in the episode. This is all mustard right here. So small and scraggly, and there's basil kind of hidden in there, and then more mustard going crazy. I don't know why I went crazy with the mustard. It's because I was trying to make something grow. Like, hey, look, it's green. It's growing. I made it grow. So I didn't know what to do with it, but...
So you didn't have a purpose to grow mustard, you were just growing mustard?
Just greens, herbs, and stuff is what I knew would grow.
Did you harvest any of the seeds off the mustard plant?
I didn't find any seeds. I probably had to let it go longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did find seeds with the lettuce, and I'll actually show you guys that here soon. Let me pause this here. Yeah, so similar to my setup now, and if you haven't seen my previous episodes, you'll see that here shortly. But you've seen my setup currently.
Yes.
I expanded on it a bit. I now have two grow troughs instead of just one. And you see how this whole thing was tied in with two ladders. So I went to the store and I was like, okay, these ladders are like 250-pound
right.
weight limit, and that's more than enough to cover what I got going on here. Although a full 55-gallon fish tank can be pretty. That aquarium's heavy by itself with nothing in it. So I'd love to go to like something lighter, but yeah. So now it's on the floor, which is a positive because I can change anything else around the fish tank without having to mess with it. And
do you run into problems with water temperature based on it sitting on the floor?
Well, it's on 2x4s. Or no, 2x6s. It's
okay.
Off the floor a little bit.
So it's not actually.
But you're not
touching.
wrong. It's still going to be a lot colder than
right.
it would have been here.
That's just my first instinct on that was controlling your water temperature.
I haven't really paid attention, and I'll tell you why. Guppies are pretty cheap, and they tell you real quick. I mean, if I see a dead guppy, then I know something's going on. And I found one dead guppy throughout the move, and the only reason is because it took me like 2 weeks to actually rebuild the whole system on top of the fish tank. And because it took me so long, the water was just cycling back in to the tank.
Right.
So the fish were just living in their own, like there was nothing to filter anything.
Right.
I only lost one fish from that, which is nice. But to answer your question, though, my setup now, I have the drape, it's the shower curtain that I cut up and put around it. It's actually covering a heat vent coming from the wall.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually in this like bubble of heat in there. It's very weird. It's taking all my heat from that room, but it all sort of comes in and yeah, it sort of just goes straight down. So yeah, so this is the new system, and that's all I was doing for like a couple. And this is actually farther along. Before this, I just had it going direct, like leaning onto the tank and then back in. So don't be afraid. I mean, a lot of people that go into aquaponics, they jump straight to like koi and bigger fish and things that those are going to take. I mean, don't get me wrong, koi are really resilient fish. but it's a much bigger cost when you do something stupid and kill them, because they cost, anywhere from, I'm going to get this wrong, but I know I've seen them for $30, $40, $50. Depends on where you go. I mean, or what kind, some kind of, exotic one, the special coloring. And because I found with guppies, you can get, like, the regular guppies, and then there's like rainbow guppies. And so, there's a cost difference there too. A lot of what I did was just for looks, because my son, he likes the different colored fish running around, swimming, I guess we could put it. But and this is kind of going through a quick timeline of me building the new setup. Oh, this is funny though. When I designed this thing, I actually first designed it to go for the supports to go across the armrest of these chairs, because it's all metal, and then the armrest would then equal the weight onto the four legs, right? But instead, what you see here is that the supports are just sitting directly on the chairs, and it's still on metal beams, but it's not nearly the support as if it was going to be on all four.
Right.
So I'm worried about
weight
that just breaking right through at some point. And so I was thinking I could put like a bottle jack on each side underneath to prop it up or something like that. Anyway, what was funny about it is that it's still so high above the fish tank that I just extended the downspouts using plastic. I just duct taped it around a circle and just made a tube to go along. Yeah. And what was funny is it was going so fast. One of these holes were just, because the 3 downspouts were getting clogged up. Here's one of the lessons that I actually didn't think to write down, is that when I first set up the system and started running the water, and I added more hydroton, which are these clay pebbles, I added more in, it adds more dust from the clay pebbles. So then as the water's circulating, all 3 downspouts started to get clogged up, and the water level started to rise. So contrasting this to outside, you have to monitor it pretty hardcore until it's all dialed in, and there are no issues at some point. But that hydroton dust started clogging these up, and only one of the holes had most of the flow, and it was flowing through so hard that it was like splashing I was losing a lot of splash. And the whole advantage of this is that you use a lot less water than outside. So what I did, my idea temporarily, I poked a bunch of holes in the side here into this plastic, and so the water running down the side would then slow down by getting, sucking through the holes. But anyway, that was all for that video. Oh, this is just a little snippet of how I recycled, I guess, these juice jug holders you can get from the store, running wire through the ceiling to hold up really light grow lights. This wouldn't hold up like your marijuana grow lights, because those are going to be a lot heavier duty. But okay, yeah, so this is what you've seen now. I've learned a few lessons from the last point. Like I cover all of the holes that aren't being grown from, all of the grow cups that don't have anything in them. I cover them all up so that the sunlight doesn't grow more algae and fill up the system and clog it up. But then I also covered it with these, I put these cool signs up too. But then I covered it with these, hey, look, it's still a bar room, okay? It's still, I've talked about the signs before on the show. They come up once in a while. It's nothing, no big deal. These are lettuce seeds. Yeah, it was not easy to harvest them, using tweezers and stuff. But there are ways to do it easier next time. I've heard that you could get like a sifter, something like that, But, before I go any further, this is, the next part is just showing some seedlings getting going. I actually overflowed my fish tank. So I'm using RO water, and I have a setup where the hose goes all the way into the tube, you could call it, all the way into the aquaponics room. And I forgot about it, and it started overflowing. It could be a lot worse, but there's a drain real close by, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, I was hoping that, if you have any questions, of course, on the aquaponics side, ask away, because that's a good question about heat, because it normally is a thing. A lot of people put a heat stone in if they're in a cold area, and I'm in the basement. It's pretty cold, but I don't really have a problem with guppies. I think it might get more of an issue as I start to build something bigger. In fact, I have a friend wanting to come over to help me start to work on a much bigger setup.
I mean, I don't know, you could go get fish too. I mean, you can go out, hit the river, hit lakes, go get some bluegill. I mean, they're out there.
That's
and
a good idea.
There's some resilient fish. I mean, obviously they live in our climate, so, you know, they can handle someone's basement or a shed.
This is me planting. It's very exciting. It was a little exciting because of these lettuce were the first lettuce that I grew from the seeds that I made from, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So they're milestones that
Coming back full circle.
Right. Exactly. And that's, to me, that's the ultimate, is to be able to make your own seeds and then continue growing.
And you supply your next grow out of...
Well, so we'll just skip ahead a little bit. Something that I did not know when I started doing this is that you should always plant all the seeds at one time in here of whatever you're planting, so they all have about the same amount of grow time, so that you can take the dome off at some point so that they get more air before you actually transplant them into your system. And so what I had was sort of a hodgepodge of seeds that were planted on different days, and I was sort of just kind of monitoring any of them.
So you see progression, it'll be like little bitty and just ramp up.
Right, but I also moved them all around because I didn't fill this whole thing up.
Oh.
Since I didn't fill it all the way up, I thought, well, I want to give these guys more room. So then I sort of checkerboarded it out.
If you're going to keep planting, you're not going to keep trying
Correct.
that way.
If I'm going to fill the whole thing up, yeah. If you see my system, I didn't want to just pack it full like you saw that early one in the beginning here, where just everything's on top of each other, and it was confusing, and also everything wasn't growing well.
Well, and I mean, I do this when I start my vegetable garden every year. I start it in the house on the kitchen table,
Okay.
little T5 light, but I start these, and I mean, what are these, 128 slots? You know, that's a hardy garden. That's a really hardy garden in someone's yard, but I just do it like this row and this row are to my tomato plants, and then I pick, you know, I'm going to grow 6 tomato plants this year. I'll pick the strongest 6 out of that batch, and then, you know, I don't discard the others. That's where, you know, you communicate with your neighbors, friends, family. Hey, I got some tomato plants that are already, you know, started. They're already running. They just need to be transplanted and, you know, loved. And,
Community, man.
yeah, and then, you know, and then the next, you know, skip a row. The next 2 rows are my bell peppers. You know, skip a row. Start whatever else you want in there. But that way I can keep them organized.
When you say skip a row, see, I'm not. I've done some gardening outside, but I'm not.
No,
there
I meant
yet.
skip a row on these planters.
Oh, I see.
Right. Since
To
you
give them the space that we're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, unless you got a huge area, 128 plants is a lot to start in one run. I mean, I know a lot of people do flowers, whatever, but
Yeah, I guess you could do other things too.
you're going to need a lot of spots.
I want to grow loofah sponges. Have you seen? You know what that is?
I know
It's
what a loofah sponge is, but I don't know how you
or
grow
like a
them.
sea sponge. I'm not sure what they're actually
right.
called, but yeah, you can grow them, and it's a big green pod. It's like a giant green bean. I'll show them to you sometime, but it's just one more thing that you can grow. That's just something that you can use at home.
Right.
You know, I mean, heck, think about growing the sponges and then putting sponges in grow beds under the dirt, and that will help fill the grow bed and not have to use so much dirt. Cuts down on cost, and then you have something at the bottom that's going to decompose into, you know, more plant food. I saw a video today where a guy suggested the same thing. I guess it's just the same thing, where he will use raised beds outside, and most of the plants only need like 6 to 12 inches, and he'll fill the raised bed up with logs and leaves and stuff, and up to a certain point, and then the rest of it with like your rich dirt that costs more money, you know. So I was thinking, well, heck, you could grow something that you could do that with, or use your scraps and clippings of whatever else. I mean, it's all compostable, right? What's so funny? You see how it's not easy to get those seeds into those pods sometimes, and it's especially if they're reused. Because I'm actually using a whole bunch of these that I'd used once before that not much happened, or maybe it was a small enough plant I could rip everything off of it.
Oh yeah, that's why I love getting my kids involved in our home garden as well. They do have those tiny fingers, man.
Oh, true.
They're
true.
easy to poke little holes in the soil and then go through the little seeds and drop them in each little hole in our planter boxes that we have.
That's why we grow kids, right?
Right.
Yep.
Need them little hands.
Yep.
Nice.
Well, getting them in on it early is awesome too. I don't think my son is going to be the kind of interest in that I'd like, but he loves fruits and vegetables. He will eat. I'll just chop pieces of lettuce off. He'll just munch on those all. He'd rather eat like stuff outside, like grass on the ground. So this is about like a happy medium. Give him some. Here, shove this in your mouth, and that's why I'm growing cucumbers. Man, he loves cucumbers. Yep. I love cucumbers. Pickles might be a thing someday. We'll see.
Well, that's why I like to get the kids involved, especially at a young age. I mean, even simple things like, hey guys, we need to go water the plants, or something simple. Just drop one seed in every hole, and then it does, pique their interest, and they get to see the process, even though they might not be super hands-on. But eventually, next thing you know, they're out there helping you, harvest the vegetables off the vine or the fruits, and then they want to help, get down in the garden and actually do some of the de-weeding and, really.
They feel the progression, or not. You get the satisfaction out of doing it yourself. Yeah, exactly.
And it's funny, like especially with I know I discussed the green beans before and how I grow them in a baby crib that I repurposed into a elevated planter.
Yes, the baby crib. I want to see pictures of this. He says there are some somewhere.
I mean, we'll
work on it.
It's not the prettiest thing to look at, but you know what?
That's the point.
It's awesome.
It's real. It's real to look at. That's.
But having one of the kids look at that every time, and they're like, that was my crib. Now we grow vegetables, and they help every year. And then, for the longest time, they wouldn't eat green beans from the store, but you grow them out there. Now you're playing in the backyard.
Right. What's this? I can put this in my mouth?
They start popping them off the vine, washing them in the hose, and then, just eating them. And I'm like, I don't even care. I don't care if those green beans never hit the table and we actually cook them. If they just want to eat them raw like that all day long.
They're getting something that has some substance.
And they do enjoy it, the fact that they grew that, and they take pride in what they do as well.
Oh, pepper. I think these are, my mom gave me some seeds. These are, they call them rainbow peppers.
Yeah, it could be anything.
I'm going to see, it says on the other side rainbow peppers, but.
That's why they can be any color.
Oh, right. But we like the sweet peppers like that, so I'm hoping that aquaponics, it sets well with it. But what's funny is while we're talking, I noticed I'm putting these dry. I don't have a bleeper, but these dry bleep grow plugs in here, and I'm squirting them with a little bit of water. Like I should have done later after this. I realized with the used ones. I soak them in a bucket full of fish water, and they just soak in there. They're nice and they're perfect when you pull them out. They're ready to go. I don't want to say what you thought I was going to say. They're wet.
Why didn't you just put them in and then get like a cup and dip your fish water, dump it across the plugs, let it absorb, let them all soak it up, and then you can just dump the runoff.
I didn't know
yet. And then
you
just start popping them in. That's the only thing, though, is when you're doing the whole tray. Or
I didn't know to dump the runoff. The runoff is still in the tray. The tray's empty, and I have something sitting on it so that it won't grow. It's like no bugs get in there. Yeah, I didn't want to waste it, and what should I do with it? Might be some good stuff in there still.
Mold.
No? Okay.
I mean, it's just water now.
You're right. But what I did was I eventually started putting water just into the tray.
Right, to go ahead and jumpstart when you drop it, it'll absorb from the top and bottom. I get you.
But you have to put so much in just to get up to the point where it's touching. I swear that this tray isn't the right shape for the other tray, but people tell me that it's not going to sit in there just perfectly. I don't know. I don't get it. Anyway.
And there's so many varieties of plugs and trays. You can buy the trays with the plugs already in them. And
okay. Are you talking about the big square plugs? More like yellow? Okay.
Kind of just like these.
Okay.
And I bought one last year to try it out. It was cheap, but that's when I knew it was 128. But it had the plugs already in, and it actually came with the bottom unit of that tray.
There's the dome.
Kind of like how your dome is, but you flip it underneath it, and then you put water in that, and then the plugs absorb the water from the bottom. So you fill that with I don't know.
Well, that's what this. So under this tray that you see here, it's inside of another tray.
Right.
that holds the water.
Like you put the water in that, you put your tray down, pop your plugs in, it'll just suck up the water from that remaining tray, and then when you need water, you just water the bottom instead of watering the tops.
Right.
Because you don't want to damage the leaves, especially when they're real little and you got a spray bottle.
Yeah, I was doing all kinds of stupid things when I first tried this.
Break them, fall them over. I like to get a fan out there.
The top.
Get a fan occasionally, just lightly, to help strengthen the stalks from the start.
That's a good idea. I don't have any fans.
If you start them inside, guys, and take them outside, the outside elements are going to put a hurt into your plants real quick, and you're going to notice it, and they're not going to look the best, but they will come back on you as long as you take care of them. But yeah, just a fan early on in the stages of life will really help strengthen.
Kind of like cannabis, they do with the fans.
Well, I mean,
I don't think about that with vegetables, but it's true. If you start them inside, then they need something to fight against, right?
Right, we'll be coming up here soon. We're going to want to get them started, because that way you'll have good plants to go outside, good strong ones.
These are peppers, and then back there is the weed, not marijuana. It's a weed, I think. I don't know what kind of weed it is.
Why would you
but
even introduce
dude,
that?
It looks okay. I kept it separated, and it's in its own bucket somewhere. I don't really know what it is. It might be something else.
Crossbreeding poison ivy with bell peppers, sweet.
Dude, I don't know. Whatever, it could be awesome. But I found it in the hydroton when I was sifting through it. It was like reused hydroton and stuff. I had it sitting outside. So it could be just anything that came out of the tree. It could be a tree.
Oh, okay.
Could be a tree. Yeah, this is the new setup. Look at this, though. I don't think I told you about this. This is styrofoam, and that is holding up the back grow bed. And between the grow bed and then the wooden frame, and then this plumber's tape just attaches this front wooden frame to the grow bed itself. This is free flowing. I could pull that foam out. The whole thing would come falling down. But it's in there solid. It's perfectly in there solid.
It's like an ocean nightmare.
These two things are just empty, like Planters peanuts jars with the lids on them. So that because they have a lot of stability, dude. I'm telling you, it's solid. It's solid.
A while.
And well, maybe I've been monitoring it. See, I mean, it's part of my experiment on reusing random materials. Like
right, I do it too, but
but hear me out. Here's one thing that I didn't think about when I first started getting into this. Even the most professionally built, well-planned systems with all these awesome equipment for aquaponics specifically, or hydroponics, you could throw in this mix. You're going to periodically have to replace all the stuff in it.
Right.
The pipes, everything has to be cleaned or replaced periodically. So in my view, if I can get some time out of repurposed materials before the next update, replacement, whatever you want to call it, why not? I'll just toss it and find something else that fits in that space or whatever. I mean, but to your point, maybe it doesn't hold up as long as I like, and maybe that piece is a failure, whatever it is. But behind the wall, I have another Planters jar. See, I was saving all this junk for years at my old place. I didn't want to start building some stuff because I didn't own the house. It wasn't a house that I particularly enjoyed living at, so I just saved the stuff up. Anyway, I have another jar between the wall and this foam. And it's very stiff foam. It's like it had my grow light was in it, so it's not just regular styrofoam.
I know what you're talking about.
Right.
It's super dense.
Yeah. Anyway, we're making this take too long, but yeah, it's solid, man. The weight of it is up against the wall, so it's not going to tip all over, even though it looks like it's. Anyway, it looks pretty funny, but it's working for now. Progress doesn't always mean perfect. I don't know. I don't know if that's a real saying, but I just came up with it. Yeah, more growth. It's nice. Those things are looking much better in the system, though. I feel like they perked up real quick, mostly because since I had the fish water running back in on itself for so long, the nitrites and nitrates were just probably packed. I mean, it was just completely packed full of stuff. So these are the cucumbers.
Right.
I've decided not to split that grow plug apart. I thought about cutting it in half. I can just vine them separately, vine them away from each other.
Yeah, that was the questions I had before when you were showing me them. I was like, well, where are you going to grow the vines, you know?
I'm going to hang them from the ceiling, man. I don't know, like some mesh or some like paracord like you were talking about. Yeah, so I tried some things up in there, but I quickly pulled them back down because the water level in those pipes aren't high enough. Dogs are going crazy. Go get them. They can last a little longer. Duke needs to cool down anyway.
Yeah.
So we're almost at the 1 minute left. So you did talk a little bit about it. So just the baby crib was the first and only thing that you've used to grow out of, because it's good enough size that you've still had enough work just in that each year. You haven't had to worry about finding like an old toilet or like a wheelbarrow or something, like a tire. People use giant tires.
I just would feel weird that you come in my backyard and there's porcelain toilets growing tomato plants. Like, it's just
if
weird.
There's no room to sit down on it. That's all you got to worry about. As long as nobody can sit on it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess.
But you get what I mean, like old tires and things people will find to grow stuff out of, and
just all it's doing is containing an area for you to add soil and then grow out of that. So you're containing one little spot. No, I got
fly trap.
Actually, I have old tool bins, like Caterpillar ADM. Like, they use the big wooden crates that they put all the tool bins in and fork trucks, whatever.
It's a heck of a toy box, right?
But yeah, it turns into one. But no, we took those and I've fabricated some of those up, cut them down, size wise where I want them, so they're not too heavy and too big. And actually, this year, the mistake I made last year is I should have just cut the bottoms out originally and put them down on the ground, and then so the roots can go. And I overcrowded my vegetable boxes, which we've talked about overcrowding.
That just depends. You never know what's going to take off.
Well, I thought as big as these boxes were, I could put 5 tomato plants. There was enough room to stagger them, and it was going to be a big box. And it's still, the root balls just couldn't get as big as they want. So obviously the plants were going to lack. I mean, I continued to feed them and do what I want. But this year, I think I'm just going to go ahead and cut the bottoms out, set them on the ground, and that way put some good soil on top.
Does that open you up to more pests, though?
That would just open up down.
Gives them more room, but are you gonna? Does the separation now give you any protection against pests? I guess is the question.
I pre-treat my yard before planting.
Oh, well.
I go through and put like 7 down just to get. And I don't want to kill everything. I do a light running, and that's mostly to keep the flying insects. Some of the soil insects you're still going to want.
Right.
I don't go too crazy, but yeah, a lot of it I treat further up by the house, out by the garden. I do lightly. It says it's safe for your gardens, but
still with
I
caution,
like to treat, and then I still put my soil mix on top when I start every year.
Speaking of soil mixes, these I told you already. These are going to be potatoes.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to grow potatoes, but what I did was at the very bottom was like rocks and hydroton that I had left, and then a layer of cocoa, and then a layer of soil, happy frogs that I had left, and then another layer of cocoa, and then on the very top you see worm castings.
Mm-hmm.
So these are going to be the most pampered potatoes. Maybe not. Maybe everybody does that. I just thought potatoes usually grow in about anything, any kind of soil, really. They're pretty resilient.
That's one thing I haven't done. About the only root vegetable I've really grown is carrots.
Now, I cut this potato into like 10 pieces, so there'll be plenty. Oh, well, it looks like we're coming up to the end of the show. This is the last picture here. It's just a picture that I saw this rack at Costco. I'm sure you can find them all sorts of places. Probably cheaper. This one was like $250. I think I got some of the sign there. Yeah, it's just, we talked about this. I think it would be an amazing thing to work off of, but I don't know that it's warrants the cost.
Better than styrofoam. No.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, it's a step up from the styrofoam supports I was using. So yeah, I mean, that contrast. That's a interesting you say that, because it contrasts. Should I save my money and buy a professional system, or should I be learning construction and plumbing and all these things that I'm learning now by building it myself? I think a little of both. I mean, I'd love to have a cool store-bought one over here doing its thing, and then tinkering with stuff on the side doing other stuff. But we'll get there someday.
I pretty much like to build my own, and that way I make what I want, get it to the exact,
Well, not just that, you get to use some stuff that you would have been throwing away.
Right.
I mean, that's
you always got scrap lumber laying around, usually. Someone does.
My last episode, it's on episode 27, if anybody wants to check it out. It's just me. But I was contrasting, like, the difference between growing food and thinking, oh, I'm just a person who likes plants. Someone actually messaged me and said, oh, you must like plants. Well, I mean, yeah, but that's not really the main reason. The main reason is because it makes you more self-sustainable, self-sufficient. You know, I mean, every picture that you search for self-sustainable involves a farm. I mean, I feel like that's the building, that's the base block, and then you can build up from there. You know.
Yeah.
But you're a hunter though.
Yes.
So that's interesting. I'm gonna bring that up. We'll talk about that on a different episode. We'll save you guys for now, but. Maybe you got some pictures? Got anything? Got any pictures of anything you caught or taken down?
Yeah.
Any takedown pictures? Okay.
Takedown.
Okay. Well, we'll try to be family friendly. You know, I mean,
we call it harvesting, just like you would with
there you go.
With vegetables.
Harvesting the meat. Very good.
Harvest
very good.
your animals.
Excellent. Well, man, hey, it was number two down. Pretty good. Until next time, guys, hey, like, share, and subscribe. The more likes I get on this, the more people see it, and the more the community grows, because there's so many people out there that eat food. Wait. But that's everybody. Oh, my God, guys. Awesome. We'll see you later. Thanks a lot.